Chess YouTube, welcome back and welcome to this incredible game played between Hans Niemann and Fabiano Caruana in round 7 of the 2025 US Championships. Now, heading into round 7, both of these players were tied for the lead with 4 out of 6 points. Therefore, both players were gunning for a win in this game to take the lead in the tournament. Let's see what happens. In the game, Hans here playing as white opens 1e4, best by test, black e5, then knight f3, knight c6, and finally 3, bishop c4, the Italian opening. Hans Niemann, of course, being one of the biggest Italian experts in the world today. Now, which line will Fabi go for in this game? He begins with the very unassuming move d6. Now, this move is super uncommon. The problem is black here is blocking in his own bishop on f8 here. It can't really develop. However, Fabi in this game, he has his ideas. Hans, he continues, c3, intending a fast d4, gaining control of the center, a very aggressive idea. And now Fabi, f5 is the move. That was the idea behind d6, moving this pawn 1 square forward to defend f5 with the bishop and set up the f5 break on the king side. Very interesting. All right, Hans, he defends d3, guarding the e4 square with the pawn. And now Fabi, the next surprise of the game, queen to f6, sort of a beginner-looking move. Beginners love to play this move here as black. But it turns out it's actually super strong here. Now, the threat is very simple. If white is not dumb enough, but if white is careless, and if white castles here, black's going to play the move f4, gaining even more space on the king side, and starting a massive kingside attack with, for example, g5, g4, and so on. Now, what should Hans be doing here? Well, it turns out the best move, and it's completely insane, is knight g5 here. The main line continues, h6, knight f7, rook h7, and so on. And I'm assuming Fabi had all of this planned out and mapped out in advance specifically for this game. Fabi instead continues with the move short castles. And this is a massive mistake, downright a blunder on move 6. Hans here castling into the attack, and Fabi, he continues with the strongest move f4. I'm assuming this was prepped by Fabi for this game. And from here, Fabi has a massive King's Indian style attack. The pawns on f4, e5, soon to be g5 and g4 are going to be absolutely unstoppable. Hans here, what should he be doing about this? Well, as they say, a flank attack is best met by an attack in the center. The best move here is d4, trying to open the game. Instead, Hans, in the game, b4 is the move, a very common idea, intending b5, gaining more space, and maybe later d4 once that knight is off c6. All right, Fabi continues. Knight g7, we have a4, and then g5. Here we go. Fabi is now all in on the attack. The king will stay most likely on e8, and from there, the pawns will march down the board. Black is literally trying to checkmate white out of the opening. All right, Hans, b5 is the move, gaining space, driving back this knight. So far, so good. The knight must go back. Knight d8 is the move in the game, and now d4. Breaking in the center, gaining even more space, and pressuring e5. Hans here trying to pressure black in the center, but of course, Fabi here, his pawns on d6 and e5 are very, very solid. It's not really clear yet what Hans should be doing in this game. Fabi, he continues, g4, pushing back the knight. Of course, g5 and h4 out of the question for the knight. It must go back to, say, e1 or d2, but both of these squares are not that impressive. Hans here finds the best square. Knight to e1 is the move. The idea being from e1, the knight can go to d3 later, which would be a decent square overall. Instead, knight d2 would be much worse, as from there, there's simply no good prospect for the knight. The knight sort of blocked out of the game on d2. Instead, knight e1 played in the game like this, and now Fabi, h5. He's just continuing with the attack. He's gunning for it. I mean, so far, he's almost exclusively played pawn moves in this game. Kind of insane when you think about it. All right, Hans, knight to a3 is the move developing, and this knight, from there, it can go to potentially c2 or maybe b5 later in the game. We'll see what happens. Fabi, knight e6. And now, Hans, to his credit, he finds an absolutely brilliant idea, downright shocking right here. He plays the pawn sack b6. Okay, what on earth is the idea behind this move? First of all, Hans here, he has to counterattack on the queen side. If he doesn't get some queenside play going, he will get steamrolled on the king side, most likely by f3 coming next. So b6 is sort of a counterattacking idea. trying to find some way to open lines on the queen side. Now, of course, the pawn on b6 is being attacked. Black can take it with the c pawn or the a pawn, but the challenge with those moves is if you do capture the pawn, knight b5 comes next, pressuring c7, pressuring d6, and so on. And Hans would find some way to get some counterplay in this game. First of all, if Black were to capture with, say, the a pawn like this, that would be a decent move, but then knight b5 comes, pressuring c7, and from here, Hans gets a little bit of counterplay. For example, king to d8 defends, d takes, queen takes, knight d3, and Hans is slowly sort of finding a way to unwind in this game, so that would not be the best idea. Even worse is c takes, because from there, knight b5 is just devastating, hitting c7, hitting d6, and so on. Instead, in the game, Black plays the move c6. Now, this is the strongest move here. The idea is simple. Black is trying to guard b5 and stop knight b5 ideas, and it turns out this does the trick, and Hans is sort of in a tough spot here. How do you want to continue? Well, the pawn on a7 can be taken. That's the strongest move, but instead, in the game, bishop to a2 is chosen, the idea being freeing up c4 for that knight on the a3 square. So Hans, he's trying to go knight c4 like this, pressuring d6, and it's a good idea, but again, this all looks so slow. I mean, Fabi here has the pawns on f4, g4, and h5. He's ready for f3 sooner or later, and Hans is sort of just shuffling his pieces around here on the queen side, and there's no way that's strong enough to win this game and fight back. All right, Fabi, knight g5 is the move, getting one knight over. Now, knight d3, and then knight g6, the other knight enters the attack as well. Fabi is pretty much completely ready for f3 on the next move. Hans, how should he continue? Well, he goes knight c4 here, pressuring d6, but the problem is, with this knight on g6, the bishop on f8 defends d6, as does the queen, and there's really no attack for white. I mean, e5 is covered, and what can white do here? It's so hard to find a good plan. All right, from here, Fabi, bishop e6, pressuring c4, pressuring the knight. Now Hans, bishop a3, pressuring d6, which at first glance, it makes a lot of sense, d6 being the only real weak point right now in the black camp. But it turns out this is also a huge mistake, as once you do this, the move f3 is that much stronger, as from there, the bishop would not pressure knight g5. So that is the problem here, the bishop leaving this very important diagonal, making f3 that much stronger in the future when it comes, and oh boy, is it coming. Fabi here, he takes on c4, bishop takes c4, bishop takes, and then the big move f3. Here we go, launching the attack on the king side, and this is where things get absolutely critical for Hans in this game. I mean, Fabi here, threatening simply to checkmate white in the next few moves. Here's the problem. If you go g3 here as Hans, from there, moves like h5 are coming, opening the h-file, and from there, it's the good old-fashioned Bobby Fischer sack mate on the h-file, and white has almost no defense in response to that. But what else can you do? I mean, if you go back with, say, the knight, black can always take on g2, opening up more lines, and go h4, g3. The attack here is so incredibly strong, it's so hard to find a good defense. And taking on e5 also just doesn't help. I mean, takes, and black here, once again, is completely fine. So in the game, Hans, he actually does play the move g3, which, I mean, it's hard to find a better idea already for Hans. The opening has gone so horrifically wrong for him, and Fabi is on the verge of simply disemboweling Hans Niemann in this game. All right, Fabi, he does not miss a beat. h4 is the move, threatening to open up the h-file for the rook on the h8 square, and this, again, is just mission critical right now for white. All right, Hans, in the game, queen to c2 is the move, getting the queen off the back rank, but again, what does this accomplish to slow down the attack? I'm not so sure. From here, black, he takes on b6, a takes b6, Fabi, he knows there is no rush with the attack, there's no need to open the h-file yet. The point being, if you take on g3, white takes back with the f-pawn like this, takes, and from there the queen does defend h2. That is sort of the idea behind queen c2, one of the ideas, defending h2 indirectly. So Fabi here, he knows there is no reason to take on g3 yet. He wants to maintain the option for later in the game. He wants to maintain literally all options as long as possible. Instead, taking on b6, winning the free pawn, playing a slightly waiting move, but of course, there's no need to rush. The attack will always come sooner or later. All right, Hans, how does he want to defend? Well, he knows when you defend, the number one rule of defense is bring all of the pieces into the defense, and he plays the move rook a to e1. From there, the rook eyes the e3 square. Rook e3 may be coming next, and if he gets it off, that would be a decent defensive idea. All right, from here, Fabi, how does he want to continue the attack? He plays the very simple idea of rook d8. Okay, Fabi, what is going on here? Well, he also knows when you attack, the number one rule of the attack is bring all of the pieces into the attack. Fabi here may be intending rook d8 to d7 to h7, doubling up rooks on the h file, which would be a very dangerous idea. All right, Hans here. He's got to find some way to counterattack here and get some play going, and he plays the move d5, which the idea is he's trying to open up lines here. He's trying to potentially capture on c6 and get something going, but Fabi, he ignores the attack on c6 and plays the move rook d7. This guy has a one-track mind. Rook d8 to d7 to h7, open the h file, sack mate, and win the game. Hans here takes on c6, d takes, b takes, and then bishop c1. Realizing his mistake, the bishop flies back to the c1 square where it does pressure this knight, which is useful, but is it too little too late? Fabi here, rook d to h7, and the computer eval here, I mean, this is not looking good for Hans. -5 pawns, the equivalent. My goodness. All right, from here, Hans, he takes on g5. Bishop takes, then queen takes, then queen b3, threatening b6, threatening potentially a check on f7 with the bishop, but again, is it too little too late? Fabi here takes on g3, h takes g3, Hans takes on b6, queen takes b6, ignoring the pawn on g3, but what else can you do? If you capture with the h-pawn like this, it's literally mate in one move on the h1 square. Instead, if you take with the f-pawn like this, from there, rook takes, and it's like 2 moves away from mate. Rook h1, king f2, rook 8 to h2, and the queen guards this diagonal, the pawn right here. The rooks deliver the mate. Instead, the computer here literally says the best idea for white is bishop f7 to distract the rook for one more move. That is the best move here, apparently, but if that's your best move, it's not looking good. Instead, Hans here captures on b6. Queen takes b6 is the idea, threatening a couple of checks, but again, it's just not enough. From here, queen to h4 is the move, threatening mate on h2. Queen to b8 hits the king. From there, the king moves to the e7 square, king to e7. And in this position, Hans Niemann, he resigns on the spot to Fabi. He knows if you give the check, the king moves, and sooner or later, the king will run away. There will be no more checks. The game will be lost, and checkmate will be delivered on the h2 square. And for that reason, right here, is it here? Here or here? Hans Niemann resigns on the spot to Fabiano Caruana. Wow, what a game that just happened in round 7 of the 2025 US Championships. I mean, some incredible opening prep by Fabi, laying a deadly trap with queen to f6, knowing back here, knowing if white were to castle, then f4 comes, launching the brutal attack and destroying Hans Niemann and his Italian opening. Alright guys, hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, please show me some love, smash the like button, comment down below, and real fast, if you enjoyed this video, if you enjoy learning from me and you're an online chess player, I've got a free online chess community /course/coaching program platform, drmikechess.com. You can go there. It's free to join, at least for right now. That may change in the future. I'm right now building out an epic course for you guys. I'm literally every single day publishing new course modules, new lessons, and so on. So check it out. I think you'll enjoy it. I'll see you there. Also, links down below in the pinned comment and the description. And as always, I wish you the best of luck in your chess improvement journey in 2025 and beyond. And I'll see you in the next video.